So the first person we have is Dr. Adebogun. You want to say it? Amazing. Amazing. We have Dr. Barbara Adewumi. We have Dr. Chinedu Agwu. Sorry, I'm Yoruba, so I'm not great with pronouncing other folks' names. We have Dr. Claire Malcolm. And last but not least, Professor Louise Owusu-Kwarteng. So we'll begin with Dr. Adebogun. As Dr. Anu's up, the rest of you can take a seat so you don't get tired. So Dr. Anu comes up and the rest of you can come up and just file behind her.
Good morning, everyone. It's such a joy to be here, and truly a full circle moment. 10 years of this incredible work. And firstly, I just want to say a massive congratulations to Professor Bernardine and the incredible team that has empowered this work and sort of taken it on in different iterations and forms and across different institutions. I remember first attending this conference in 2018, so I know now that was probably the second conference, and I came in and I was just in awe of the caliber, the excellence, the warmth, the enthusiasm for academia. At that point, I hadn't even done my master's. And the conference that year was more STEM leaning. And I remember coming in and having a conversation with Professor Bernardine and sort of saying to her that, oh, I studied law and I'm sort of interested in research, but don't really know if people pursue research coming from this sort of background. It's more sort of like be a lawyer, be a solicitor, be a barrister. So I had a lot of questions. And one thing that really struck me about Professor Bernardine was really just how warm and open she was. I know Professor Jason mentioned, you know, how striking it is when someone makes time for other people. And that was something that really marked me about Professor Bernardine. So she was like, okay, it's quite STEM focused. We don't have that many sort of researchers here in humanities and social sciences, but let me try and see, and this is amidst a very busy conference schedule, let me try and see if I can, you know, arrange a conversation between yourself and Professor Fumi. And just like that, I was sort of downstairs having this conversation with the incredible Professor Fumi, and I was like, Professor Bernardine doesn't know me from absolutely anywhere, you know, and that moment, seeing me, seeing my passion, my interest, and sort of, you know, curating an opportunity for conversation was absolutely powerful. And I remember going through the conference and speaking to another PhD student who was doing international development at Cambridge, and I was like, oh, this is the thing, like I can do this. And then later on that year, I went in to complete my master's at Oxford with a full scholarship, and later on doing my PhD. And my PhD research was exploring Black maternal experiences of aggression and harm from their children. So I understood that I was exploring an area of family violence that's highly stigmatized, that in no way documents or reflects the experiences of Black mothers. And doing that research, I remember when I was interviewing the mothers and interviewing the professionals, a common sentiment that came across was like, I'm really glad you're the one doing this research. And I was taken aback, I was like, what does that mean? Because again, a lot of these mothers are significantly older than me, you know, I'm younger than them, I don't have lived experience of child parent violence and abuse. So in many ways, I was an outsider to their experience, and I was very aware of that going into these conversations. But actually, despite the age difference and not having a lived experience, the fact that I was able to engage with them and create space for them to share, you know, the challenges they're having with their children without feeling as though that I would, you know, stigmatize their motherhood, you know, call them bad mothers, you know, or even vilify their children. And so that was a sentiment that kept coming across. And that really struck me as to the importance of, people from particular communities spearheading research, exploring sensitive issues, but doing so with openness, doing so with vulnerability, doing so with, empathy. So that really struck me, and, alongside my research, I sort of continued my youth practice with young people, writing with young people, and a lot of that was inspired by the ethos of this network, right? This idea of once you enter a space, find ways to create, more room for those coming behind you, but also in a way that reflects Professor Bernadette's commitment to young people, young leaders. I was really keen to not lose myself in purely academic work, and so it was really important for me to engage with young people and write for young people, and all of that was made possible by, attending the conference in 2018 and seeing, like I mentioned, this intergenerational dialogue with researchers across different ages, people like myself that hadn't done a master's, those that were doing their PhDs, early career researchers, professors, and it just made everything seem so possible. And so it truly is an honor to be here 10 years on and to see what the conference has gone on to achieve. And really, you're absolutely incredible, Professor Bernadette. So really want to celebrate this, and I'm overjoyed to be sharing this story, and really look forward to what the many decades ahead is going to back out of this conference. So thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you for that, Dr. Anu. Now we have Dr. Barbara. Can we do a round of applause, please?
Good morning, everyone. Absolutely delighted to be here this morning. I can't believe how 10 years have flown by so quickly. But my experience of the conference has been absolutely life-transforming, because when I first heard about the BME ECR conference, I thought, I need to go to this. I need some inspiration. Because I felt that at university, whilst I was a sociology lecturer, I was doing a lot of teaching. So much teaching that I was ready to collapse. So I needed motivation as to find out a way that I could write, that I could publish, because I just felt that publishing was really distant from what I was actually doing. And how come other lecturers were getting to publish and go to conferences whilst I was still in the lecture room? Don't get me wrong, I do love lecturing, I did love lecturing, but I just wanted more for myself, and that's okay, right? So I joined the conference, and as Anu said, it was quite STEM-based, but I thought, you know what, let's just network and see what happens. And the first person I actually saw darting around the place was Professor Bernadette. She's really, really accessible, which was great. So I listened to the actual people that were speaking that day, and there was one gentleman called Dr. Mark Ledwidge, who's not here today, but I've only got 5 minutes, but I really liked his speech about motivation and really, kind of making your mark in academia. So I went up to him at lunchtime and I said, would you like to be my mentor? And he looked at me like, who are you? Okay. So then I told him where I was at the University of Kent, and this is what I wanted to do, and this is where I wanted to be. And he said, okay, let's talk. And after a few years, I actually got 2 promotions, a double promotion, in fact, because and that was down to Mark actually helping me do the application, telling me how to put things together and how to sell myself, and and he really, really did help. And that, if I didn't go to that conference that year, that might not have happened. So I think the conference has done so many things for me. It's also given me a lot of confidence. Do public speaking, hello. I didn't think I would be here today doing this, but it's wonderful that I have this platform to also tell others that you can do it. Even though my experience of school wasn't that positive, and I was told, I don't think you're going to get anywhere, Barbara, you should just be a hairdresser. I don't know how many of you have had career advisors who've told you, yeah, the absolute opposite of where you are now, but that's where I had started, and so I just went to college and did my A-levels and succeeded, and then I decided to do a master's in contemporary Caribbean cultural history, because my parents are Trinidadian and I have such a close affinity with Trinidad, because I grew up there when I was small. and then I came up back here to do my secondary education, which wasn't very good. I didn't have a very good experience because we were extremely racist during that time. We won't go into that right now because we've only got 5 minutes. But, you know, coming back again to where I am now, I have left the University of Kent, but I am still a very much avid researcher. I'm a senior researcher, but I'm still affiliated with the University of Kent as a senior research fellow because I believe they recognise the work that I have done there and my contributions that I have made has actually become a legacy at the University of Kent, which I'll talk about later in a panel. But I have to say that I would not be here today, you know, for it not being for Professor Bernardine and so many of the academics that I met during networking that really inspired me to keep going, you know, just keep going and, you know, you will get there. So I have to admit that being here today is really emotional for me because I've stepped out of academia at this moment in time, but who knows what today, what might bring. But I'm really happy to be here, and I really thank everyone who's put this conference together year after year. It really, really helps students and has helped me fully to a point where at the University of Kent, when it was COVID, I made sure that even though students couldn't be invited to the BME ECR conference in person, that we set up a room, not as big as this, not as fantastic as this, where they could actually come and sit together and watch the BME ECR network online and then network in the same room. That's how important I felt this conference was and still is. So let's continue to have this conference year after year. Thank you.
Incredible. So now we have Dr. Chinedu.
Good morning, everyone. It's a privilege and an honor to be in this position to share my story. Thank you as well to Professor Bernardine for this opportunity. Just echoing what Barbara said, my experience in the conference has truly been transformational. I discovered this conference and also Professor Bernardine in 2019 when I finished my PhD in the University of Manchester, and you know, I was at a point where I didn't know if I wanted to stay in academia or not, just based on my experiences and also the visible role models I had seen, the experience I had in the labs. I was just in two minds. And outside of research and science, I like writing, so I write blogs. And one of my blogs in Black History Month was around Black MVPs in science, and that's how I actually came across Professor Bernardine and her work. And I shared some of my reservations with her. And through that conversation, I discovered what was possible with a PhD and within academia. And she empowered me to explore my options, to ask questions, do research, and she connected me to this conference. And since then, I've had an opportunity to work in the private sector and build my portfolio. And then I actually decided to come back into academia. I was teaching fellow in the University of Hertfordshire, and then from there went into Brunel as a lecturer. And so, that was really important for me because I realized, actually I enjoy being in academia, I enjoy impacting the next generation of students, and that mentorship really helped me to solidify that decision, but also seeing visible role models in that space who are also working to make change and pave the path for future students. And I think also the experience within this conference also showed me the importance of paying it forward. I think yesterday a key verse that one of the ladies said was leaving the ladder down as you're progressing and climbing up. And so that even inspired me to set up my own social enterprise called BioSci Toolkit to equip and empower students into bioscience degrees and careers, and just show them the breadth of opportunities possible with a science degree. I am biased to STEM, sorry, social sciences people. But yeah, I'm just so grateful for Professor Bernardine and all the academics, even Professor Jason we've met as well over now, and just so grateful for the opportunity to be here, to be connected with so many esteemed colleagues. And I'm also excited for the next generation and what they're doing and the opportunities available to them. So yeah, thank you very much.
Chinedu. Now we have the lovely Dr. Claire. I must say, you're absolutely.
Hello everyone. I'm basically the poster child for time blindness, so and I do waffle. So if anyone wants to just play me off like it's the Oscars at any point, do feel free to do that. I'm going to suggest Young Gifted in Black would be the ideal choice. I can't really carry off the young part anymore, unfortunately, but yeah, at any point if I'm waffling on too much, just give me the signal. I'm going to be replicating a lot of what other people have said, but I think it bears repeating, especially in respect of Prof. Bernardine. So when I first presented at this conference, it was back in 2023. It was the Leeds one, which was hybrid. So I was all business from the waist up, and I was able to do pajamas from the waist down. Today, the life hack for this is a jumpsuit, outside pajamas. So I'm always thinking. It was a last minute. I was kind of a seat filler of sorts, because I'd not long met Prof. Bernardine. She contacted me to tell me that someone had to pull out, and that their presentation was going to be entitled Leading in Spaces That Aren't Designed for You. And could I step up and fill in? We'd not long met. We'd met at the 100 Black Women Professors Programme. Immediately, the imposterization kicked in. You'll notice I'm saying imposterization, not imposter syndrome, because this is not something that we do to ourselves, this is something that's done to us. Okay? And it is, well, what do I know? How am I going to stand up in front of a room full of people, possibly virtually, but still, I wasn't going to stand up because pajamas, but how am I going to present to a room full of people about leadership? I'm not a leader. No one looks to me for leadership. I'm just in the background. I've been that archetypal black female academic who's been both hyper-visible and invisible. Everyone sees me, but nobody really sees me. Okay? The good citizen who doesn't get rewarded for the extra work she's doing behind the scenes. The person who gets invited to be on every committee because it's statistically very valuable, but then doesn't get listened to when she actually shares her perspective. I'd spent the first 10 years of my academic career learning to blend into the background and not letting on to people what I had going on at home. That there was this clear disjunction between who I was when I was being presentational, when I was being performative, when I had my game face on, and what I was going home to as a personal experience. The first presentation we had spoke to me as a black mother of an autistic child. She has a very complex presentation. She has comorbidities with ADHD, learning difficulties, and I had these very complex caring responsibilities at home that I thought I could then share with everyone. There was a whole part of myself that in a work environment no one knew anything about. So I was battling on two fronts. The battles that we face anyway institutionally and structurally as racially minoritized academics, and then the battle I was going home to, the battle of advocacy as a black mother, which is a full-time job in and of itself. In fact, it's about 3 full-time jobs rolled into one a lot of the time. The presentation I gave on leading in spaces that aren't designed for you was based around the cast of characters that as a black minority ethnic ECR you might meet on your journey. Professor Ade indicated not all of them are necessarily the cheerleaders that you want in your life. A lot of them are gatekeepers, ladder pullers, dinosaurs who believe that evolving standards equate to declining standards, people who want to make you feel like a diversity hire, people who want to gatekeep and restrict an understanding of what constitutes legitimate and worthwhile knowledge. I'd met all of those people, and at times they've really beaten me down. They've made me question myself, they've made me question my place in academia. And then thanks to Professor Maskia, we were in a situation where staff from the OU were able to go to the Black Women Professors Brunel programme. That's where I met Professor Bernardine. So I met my girl Georgie, who's going to be the next black female professor. And through that experience, I learned that one thing that those people don't want you to know, which is that you are already enough. And that's what I want everyone to take away from today. You are already enough. We'll talk a lot more hopefully on the panel about how I've come to that realization in my own career, but I'm more interested in making sure that everyone else in the room reaches that point if they're not there already. I've since co-authored a book about the experience of black mothers with autistic children, and a shout out to Mel Breen, who is my co-author. She could be here today, but she's actually just finishing off her own PhD, doing her Viva, which she's going to smash, by the way. Another huge favour that I owe to Prof. Bernardine is that she actually put me in touch with Prof. Jason, who very, very kindly wrote the foreword for that book, which I can't read without crying to this day. So thank you so much. So it's a huge thank you to everyone for this opportunity. This conference is magic nothing short of magic. And I hope everyone gets as much out of it as I have. Thank you so much.
E for energy. E for energy. Before we call our last impact person, I would love for all of us to just reiterate what speaking to existence, what Dr. Claire said. You are all enough. So let's all say together, I am enough. I am more than enough. I've got 2 people saying that. Let's try it. 1, 2, 3. I am more than enough. Incredible. So I'd love to call up Professor Louise Owusu-Kwarteng. Good morning, everyone. Are we all right? Yes, very good, very good. Okay, so I want to start off by rolling back to 2016 when I very first met Professor Bernardine. All right. So we were at a conference, and it was at LSE, and it was a Goldsmith thing. And we were talking about, black and minority or global majority students and, their experiences. And I can remember, and I'm just going to be very frank here, that there was a lot of negativity. Do you remember? There was a lot of negativity. And I sort of said, well, actually, I think what we need to be doing is reframing the narrative, looking at positive things and stuff. And then I got called a rat for my problems. Yeah. And this woman came with her fingers like that, called us rats. Anyway, that's great. I'm not a rat. Anyway. Everyone's all gone quiet. Thanks. Anyway, so I think in the next time, I'd seen Bernardine at another award ceremony. And then in 2019, she invited me to speak. And I was really, when I got that email, I was so gassed. I was really chuffed. And, but also what was interesting was at the time was that I was waiting for my application to, approval hopefully, to become an associate professor. Now, by this time I've been waiting for almost 9 months and just thinking, God, kids get born in less time than this. But anyway, so yeah, I was waiting for it. But I spoke at the conference, and it was just one of the most uplifting things. It really kind of brought me out of my anxiety, meeting other people, inspired by people who were already where I was going to be at, yeah? And then also, it just made me think, okay, well, I need to carry on doing what I'm doing. So, a lot of my research, I am a sociologist, okay, so shout out to all the sociologists here, right, yeah? We rock, just then. Anyway, so a lot of my research has been around challenging the narratives about black and minority or global majority students in education, because I cannot stand hearing about, how somehow we're underperforming, treating everybody as a lump sum, right, as a lump group. And then also, and I'm just going to drop it right now, I hate that word awarding gap. I don't use it. I've made my institution stop using it. I've been an absolute nightmare with this, and they've stopped, right? But, again, I didn't like the narratives around this and everything. And, a lot of the work, coming to this conference, and a lot of the work that, Professor Bernardine does, really chimes with what I've been doing, and it kind of really gave me the power to keep doing it, and just keep being a nuisance. I've been a nuisance since I was 3, according to my mum, so I'm like, why not stop now? Anyway, but, keep being a nuisance about these things, keep challenging narratives, keep speaking up when you're hearing people using deficit language. I can't stand it. So, being in a context like this and knowing and seeing what I've been arguing against in person, in reality, this is what keeps me going. And this conference is it, okay? This is what this has done for me. This is one thing, I could say many, but I'm just going to say another thing. I think the other thing as well, I would say, is that it's encouraged a lot of us to sort of keep going for promotions or keep going in whatever and being authentic in ourselves, being authentic in the research that we do, not feeling that, okay, well, I have to do this to get to this. Because at the end of the day, there's nothing worse than doing research that you can't stand, that you're not engaged in. I mean, for me, I'm a qualitative researcher.
research. So like, you know, if you put in numbers in front of me, I just say, get out, you know? But, you know, it's just doing things that are authentic, but that can make a difference, all right, in terms of social justice. So I think this has really pushed that. And also, you know, it's, as I say, visible, showing students what they can be. If this is what you want to be, this is what you can do. This is how you do it. I was talking to 2 girls yesterday at the dinner table, and they were saying that, you know, because of some work that Bernadine had been doing with them, they're now off to Imperial to do their masters. And I was just like, yeah, you go, girls. That's amazing. But that's probably just 2. That's just 2, all right? I'm sure there's so many, many more. In fact, I know there's many more. So there's that. But then also in terms of going for promotion, I remember doing this and seeing how people have progressed, and then having a fantastic, and I have to shout out her name, and she's going to kill me. It's on recording, but she's going to kill me. Professor Tracy Reynolds. Like, she is amazing. She is absolutely amazing. And you know, she mentored me. She said to me one day, "I've got your back," and everything. I will always remember that. So like having people like that, having people like Prof Bernadine, having people like, you know, Prof Marcia, Prof Jason, so many people, my parents, the whole lot. And I'm sounding like an Oscar speech now, but you know, all these people in my wake, and also shout out to my VC Jane Harrington as well. All these people in my wake, you know, it helps. It helps. I'm going to sort of like quote my dad now. I always quote my dad. So he always says, little raindrops like build a mighty river. And he's taking it from a high life tune. And I agree, and this is how it started. Little raindrops are making a mighty river. And I'm going to quote him again, what he said to me the other day. He said, baby, he always called me baby, and I'm 51. Right? He said, baby, there'll be more. Okay? So when I say there'll be more, Prof, it doesn't end here. There'll be more. Okay? And I'm going to say one thing in tree. Why you are dear? Papa. More. You've done very well.